Hey, roofers and HVAC business owners. So you're out there, right, doing the right thing, growing your company, adding services to stay competitive, right, bring in more cash and serve your customers better. But here's the problem, right? A lot of roofers and HVAC business owners add new services without knowing what it's really costing them, right? And that growth ends up draining profits instead of building them. So this video is all about how to do it smarter so your growth actually pays off. So your growth actually pays off. So if you're thinking about adding a new service to your roofing or HVAC business, hold on a second, right? Growth is great, but if you jump in too fast without a plan, it can drain your cash flow and stretch your crew way too thin. So the smartest companies don't just right look at sales potential, they map it out in a way that protects profit, cash flow in their crew. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do so you can grow the right way. So if this is your first time here, hi, I'm Marika and I help roofing and HVAC business owners make confident financial decisions from pricing and payroll to profit forecasting and tax strategy. So I've worked with contractors who've added plumbing, solar, right, maintenance divisions, you name it. But there's a right way and a wrong way to add services. And the wrong way, it'll tank your margins fast. So the first mistake most contractors make is focusing only on new sales when adding a service, right? But sales are just one piece. So smart owners build out a full cost structure before launching anything. So you've got to think beyond materials, right? You need to account for labor, equipment, vehicles, training, software, licensing, and marketing, right? So if you're adding a new division, you might need a new truck, right? An onboarding process, and maybe even a dedicated team lead. So let's say you're launching a maintenance plan, right? Division and expect $10,000 a month in new sales. But if it's costing you $7,000 in labor and $2,000 in admin and scheduling support, you're left with just $1,000, right? And that's before taxes and overhead. So a profit forecast, right, helps you price that service properly from the start, right? So you're not just working hard, you're working smart. Another thing smart Another thing the smartest companies understand, right? You're not going to break even on day one. So new services takes time to build traction, and that's not a red flag, it's just reality. So plan for 3 to 6 months. Plan for a 3 to 6 month window, right, where you're spending more than you're bringing in, right? So you'll need to float labor, fuel, and marketing costs, even when sales are slow and operations are still right getting dialed in. So let's say your new division will cost you 15,000 a month to operate. You'll want at least $45,000 set aside to cover right the first few months. Why? So you're not forced to pull from your main business just to keep the new one afloat. So when you don't plan right for the ramp up, you end up scrambling, and when you're scrambling, you make rushed, risky decisions like underpricing or cutting corners. And the worst part, right, your core business can suffer while you try to get the new section, while you try to get the new division off the ground. So this one gets overlooked way too often, right? Just because your team is great at HVAC or roofing doesn't mean right they're ready to jump into plumbing, electrical, or solar. So these services, often require licensed tradespeople, right? Specific certifications, and in some cases, specific insurance coverages. So that means, right, you need to think about hiring the right licensed contractors from the start, right? Not just cross training your current team. So trying to stretch your crew too far without proper credentials or experience, right, can backfire both financially and legally. So you want to ask yourself, do we actually have the skills and capacity in house, or will this stretch our crew too thin? Right. So, for example, if you're thinking about adding plumbing, but your HVAC techs, right, already have a full schedule, It might make more sense, right, to hire a dedicated plumbing crew instead of trying to cross train too fast, right? Adding the service should strengthen your business, not burn out your team. So, this is a great question I get all the time, especially from roofing owners thinking about adding solar. Should you try it with your current crew first or bring in a separate team? So, let's break that down. So if you're adding a licensed trade like solar, it's smart to hire a small dedicated team or subcontractors first, right? You can test demand, pricing, systems without overloading your core team or risking quality, right? So if it gains traction, then you can decide whether to expand it in-house, right? But don't stretch your crew thin, right? It's better to start lean and scale the right way. So adding a new service can absolutely grow your business, right? But only if it's planned out both financially and operationally, right? So run the numbers, build a timeline, make sure your team is ready for it. And if you want to dive deeper into what expansion should look like before you invest in a new service, head to my blog, right? I'll walk you through exactly what to forecast, what new services really cost to launch, and share a case study from one of my clients so you can learn from what they worked. So you can learn from what worked and what didn't. If you want help forecasting profits, right, building a launch plan for your next service, go ahead and book your free profit and tax analysis at my website. I'll help you map it out before you spend a dime. I'm Marika, your numbers partner for roofing and HVAC growth. Let's build it right together. See you in the next video. Bye.